events and public speaking, I would not have believed you. And that's because deep down, I am an introvert. I still am. And I used to be so painfully shy of even going up and making a new friend, whether that be in school or university. And I struggled with what comes to most people very naturally. And once I overcame that, I became so addicted to the process of stepping outside of my comfort zone because the way it leveled up my confidence was insane. We always hear so much advice about why it's so important to step outside of our comfort zone and that our dream lives are on the other side of our comfort zone, and I could not agree more. I myself have spoken about this in so many of my videos, and for that reason, in this video, I am going to be breaking down exactly how you do it. Because on this side of the internet, we're all about embracing temporary discomfort to become more disciplined, confident, and become the version of ourselves we've always envisioned ourselves to be. As always, here are the video chapters. In chapter 1, we're going to discuss the dangers of staying in your comfort zone. Consider this chapter your motivation chapter. Like, this is going to get you so hyped up to learn all of the knowledge that I'm going to share after. And then in chapter 2, we're going to talk about the importance of discomfort and why you literally need to seek it out. And when you're in uncomfortable situations, that's where all the growth happens. And a lot of this is actually backed up by science, which I'm going to be sharing. And then lastly, we have the solutions/homework chapter, where I'm going to be sharing a bunch of new habits you can implement into your life so that you can stay accountable on your journey of stepping outside of your comfort zone. But before we how things are going to end, you know how that friendship's going to go, you know that you're going to pass that test, you know what's going to happen if you join that class. It's easy. You living your life, everything is predictable. When we enter situations that we don't know if that person's going to like us, we don't know if we're going to stutter when we're on stage, we don't know if we're going to get the job, it makes us nervous, and that's what opens up that fight or flight response in our brain, which makes us feel like this is dangerous. It's so funny because staying in your comfort zone is dangerous, and yet our brain tricks us into thinking stepping outside of it is dangerous. Because your brain doesn't like anything that makes it uncomfortable. It is constantly seeking out comfort, pleasure, and safety. That is its first instinct, and it should be that way. That's how we've evolved as human beings. We need that fight or flight response to protect ourselves from danger. But this does not apply when it comes to self-growth and personal development. When you start opening yourself up to experiences that are not predictable and you don't know if you're gonna win or fail, that is where there is so much room for learning and new skills. And this leads us on to chapter number 2, discipline and discomfort backed by science. Because now you have all of the motivation and all of the reasons as to why you should be on this journey. So let's break down why this actually works. Because stepping outside of your comfort zone is not just a popular motivational saying, okay? There is real evidence to support why this is so important for your growth. So back in 1908, 2 psychologists actually shared that you need to have this thing called optimal anxiety to be able to grow for your personal development. Optimal anxiety is where you expose yourself to just the right amount of stress where you're forced to change and grow. This idea is basically you need to be stretched enough and like stressed enough to grow, but not too much, because that's when you start to break down and you might snap. It's finding the sweet spot between, oh my God, I'm too overwhelmed that I don't have the capacity for anything and now I'm burnt out and drained. We don't want to go over there, but just enough where you're worried and you're nervous and you're scared about what's going to happen, but that's a sweet spot. That's where all of the magic happens and you become a version of yourself you never thought you could be. This links into my next point, which is all about the prefrontal cortex of the brain. This is the side of your brain that is responsible for important functions like self-control. And you can actually train this side of your brain to become stronger when you expose it to more challenging experiences and force yourself to have the discipline to continue on with them. And I speak about this all the time. Like, truly, the only way to build discipline is to just keep being uncomfortable, is to do what you say you're gonna do when you say you're gonna do it. So when you wake up on a cold winter's morning and you told yourself the night before, I'm gonna go to the gym, you better wake up in the morning and go to the gym. It doesn't matter that you're cold, it doesn't matter you don't want to, it doesn't matter that you're tired, because just from you completing that one promise you made to yourself, that's how your brain gets stronger and you start building a habit and becoming addicted to the process of following logic over emotion, which in other words is discipline over comfort and pleasure. Because now, even when you want to go to that networking event but you're scared, your brain thinks, oh, but we felt scared about so many other things, but we go and do the thing anyway. And it becomes this habit loop, this habit cycle that even though I have these difficult emotions, it doesn't matter because I never follow through on them. I follow through on what I say I'm going to do. And then stepping outside of your comfort zone can actually lead to improved brain health and neuroplasticity. That's right, stepping outside of your comfort zone can literally reshape and rewire your entire brain in your favor. Studies have shown that when you challenge yourself and expose yourself to discomfort multiple times, your brain actually starts to adapt to those new things you're experiencing and learning about, which then leads to better brain health. Whereas when you're stronger or wiser. And then lastly, discomfort benefits you because it leads to better emotional regulation. And emotional regulation is my favorite skill to talk about and master because it's gonna save you every time. It's gonna save you when someone's insulting you or being mean. It's gonna save you in your self-love journey. It is going to do wonders in your dating and relationship life and your relationships with anyone for that matter. Emotional regulation means being able to control what emotions you are paying attention to, not what you're feeling, because emotions are gonna come and go, but how long you allow it to bother you and take control over you, as well as the way that you respond to others. As soon as you become the master of your own emotions, everything becomes so easy. And by exposing yourself to more discomfort, you become a master in this. Exposure to discomfort has been linked to something called emotional agility. And all this means is that you have the ability to experience the full range of emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. And when you repeatedly expose yourself to uncomfortable emotions by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations where you're scared and nervous, you actually start training your brain and your emotions to become more adept at processing them rather than avoiding and suppressing them, which keeps you in your comfort zone and keeps you emotionally immature. And finally, chapter number 3, new habits and your actionable and practical homework tasks so that you can start this journey with a real to-do list of how you're gonna start stepping outside of your comfort zone. Step number 1 is to ask yourself, what would future me do? Because every single day you need to think, what would the highest version of myself do? What would the successful, business-minded, growth mindset, killing it at life version of myself, how would she respond? Where would she go? How would she talk to this person? How would she spend her weekend, her morning? Everything. That is what starts opening up your brain to start thinking about, how can I get there now? If all you're visualizing is this perfect, successful future version of yourself, your brain cannot tell the difference between a real and imagined experience. So the more you're exposing your brain to this picture and this idea in your head, it's like, well, we want that now. And we're so used to seeing what that looks like, what activities and what habits do we need to implement to be able to bring that vision into the present. And when you start thinking of those ideas, then it's time to put it into action and actually challenge yourself to start showing up as the highest version of yourself. Because tell me this, how are you ever gonna get there unless you right now starts acting like her? She only became her because present you started changing her actions and her behaviors and her exposure to discomfort to be able to grow into her. It could be as simple as talking to a stranger, turning up somewhere alone, going to a class, traveling, setting up a new project, you name it. Habit number 2 is your portfolio of proof. I've spoken about this so many times. If you're not already doing it, are you even listening to these videos? And if you're new here, your portfolio of proof is basically this bank of memories that you keep in your head for every single time you stepped outside of your comfort zone and then it wasn't actually as bad as you thought it would be. This basically protects you because any time in the future that you feel self-doubt, you can go back to your mental portfolio of proof and be like, but last time that scared us, we were fine and we actually walked away more confident and more happy and more accomplished. And it gives you that courage, that motivation and that reassurance, most importantly, to do the thing that scares you again right now. Habit number 3 is rejection therapy. And this is very similar to exposure therapy where you continuously expose yourself to your fear until you become numb to it. But rejection therapy is when you are purposely and voluntarily going out there to be rejected and to fail. Because rejection is one of the things that activates our fight or flight response. It makes us feel sad and scared and unsafe. And it's a very common thing that actually prevents people from taking risks or stepping outside of their comfort zone in the first place because they fear rejection, whether it be from a thing, a person, or an opportunity. But when you intentionally seek out rejection, you're basically kicking your comfort zone to the side. You're like, you can give me all these signals, all these fear signals and all these worries, but I am going to run at this because the further you do and you experience it, your brain then understands what the ending of it was. And when your brain can understand what the ending of you feeling nervous or scared was, then that becomes a new comfortable situation because now it's predictable. Now you've exposed yourself to that environment. It's nothing that's unfamiliar or unpredictable or scary because you don't know the outcome of it. And then the final habit that I'm going to share for this video is for you to embrace your reverse indicator. All this means is that you can spend a day. First thing is, when you stay in your comfort zone, you cannot tell what is good or bad for you. When you stay in your comfort zone, this is addictive. You are satisfying your brain's need to always be safe because otherwise your brain will have a fight or flight response in any situation that brings you discomfort, even if it's good for you. And because of this addictive response within you, your comfort zone ends up limiting your perspective and recognizing what will actually benefit your development. Because I promise you, 100% of the time, it's going to be the things that scare you, make you nervous, and make you uncomfortable. Your view view of right from wrong when it comes to growing yourself and bettering your life becomes blurred, because now your main priority is pleasure and comfort, because that is all you have been exposed to your entire life. The second danger of staying in your comfort zone is limited growth. You are going to find yourself in the same place every single year. And if you feel like every single year I'm making my vision board or I set my goals, and then at the end of the year I'm like, nothing even happened, and why is nothing going my way, and why has my life not changed yet, is because of your comfort zone. If you can relate to this, it's because your comfort zone addiction is keeping you from being able to strive and aim for more in your life. You are so concerned with just trying to have an easy day or an easy life and trying to bring some sort of pleasure into your life to combat any of the stresses you might be experiencing from school or work, that you're not realizing that the discomfort and all of the challenges that you purposely go after, not the things that are already in your life, okay? Not the rude coworker, not the family member that's getting on your nerves, the challenges that you actively seek out and voluntarily bring into your life are the things that are gonna grow you. When you are just like, I'm gonna make this list of goals and then see what happens, you're still letting your comfort zone sit in the driving seat of your life. The third danger of staying in your comfort zone is that now it's harder to even know yourself. I speak a lot about self-love and building a stronger relationship with yourself, and self-discovery is a very huge part of that. But comfort zone will stand in the way of you doing so. Because the more you stay in your comfort zone, the harder it is to know what your real likes, dislikes, what you can and can't deal with are, because you're always in this easy, stagnant place. You haven't challenged yourself yet, so you don't know how you're going to experience or react or act or think about certain situations. And I love to compare this to relationships, because I'm a big believer that you don't know someone until you've seen them in every situation or in a lot of different emotions. And it's a lot like a comfort zone. Every single day you go to the same place, you're living in the same house with the same people, with the same friendship group for several years. When have you done something out of the ordinary? When have you done something that you've never tried before? And similarly, in a relationship, you might think, I'm ready to marry this person and everything's perfect and amazing, but what if one day they lose their job? How are they gonna act? Are they gonna change how they treat you? What if they're having a really bad day? What if they decide to quit their job and pursue their dream of being a business owner, but it's their first time doing it and they're stressed and they're unsure? Then what happens? Who are they in that situation? And the same goes for your own self-discovery. You learn so much about yourself when you put yourself in situations you've never been before. Basically, you need to put yourself in scenarios where your character is tested. And this also links back into self-growth, because when you venture into these different situations, it will force you to respond differently, make different decisions, develop problem solving. And if you react negatively or in a bad way, that facilitates so much growth, because then you're like, now I know how to deal with this next time, or I'm gonna respond differently in the future. Danger number 4 is the longer you stay in the comfort zone, the harder it is to escape. This is like a ticking time bomb. Every single second you decide to live your life as you are and not actively seek out anything challenging, the harder you're making your own life for you. You set a goal at the beginning of the year, I'm gonna go to the gym every single day, and you still haven't done it. You starting tomorrow, it's already 10 times harder to now go to the gym than it would have been for you if you did it in January, because now you are even more accustomed to staying in your comfort zone for 6 extra months this year than you have already been. And the more and more days that you wait, the harder that barrier to achieving your goals is going to become, because the addiction grows with the more time that you spend in your comfort zone. And the final danger for this